Hey everybody, and welcome to Super Comic Fun Time. Well, I finally did it. I'm finally current, or at least more current than I've been before. I visited two comic books this weekend, one on Friday and the other today. I was looking for Alterna Comics, and unfortunately I didn't find those. I have this fantasy that I'm going to be able to walk into a comic book store with a $20 bill and just put it on the table and say, give me $20 worth of Alterna Comics, please. But unfortunately, that hasn't worked out as both places don't carry it. But I looked around Friday night at the store I shopped in, but I really wasn't planning on anything. It was after work, and I didn't have a backup plan. Today, I went to another comic book place, one I've never been to before. It's Westfield Comics. It's very famous in Madison. I just have never made it there yet. And I said when I found out they didn't have the comics, I just decided to walk through the store and look for something that I hoped would be interesting to do a video on. And I picked up Exit Stage Left, the Snagglepuss Chronicles. Now, many of you will remember Snagglepuss as the Hanna-Barbera character who has two catchphrases. Well, one is he's kind of a ripoff of Bert Lahr. Bert Lahr was the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz, and in one movie, I don't know which one, he shouts out, "Heavens to Murgatroyd!" And that happens to be one of the catchphrases that Snagglepuss uses. He also is famous, like, he'll be doing these schemes, and I haven't seen a Snagglepuss cartoons in ages, but I think he was kind of a schemer, and when his schemes would go awry, he would like, "Exit stage left." He was always kind of cowardly. He was a mountain lion. Of course, he was cowardly because he was taking the cue from Bert Lahr's Cowardly Lion. So at any rate, I've written this out here, so I'm kind of following along. So I do less uhs and can be more sure of what I'm going to say next, but I can hear myself. It's not actually working out quite that way. At any rate, so I got this book, and I saw the cover on. Oh yeah, this is a DC Comics and Hanna-Barbera collaboration. They've collaborated on some other books recently, most notably The Flintstones, which has gotten a lot of critical praise. And this book is written and drawn by Mark Russell, Mike Feehan, Mark Morales, and Paul Mounts. And I'm not sure if I've read any of these people's books. I know Mark Russell. I haven't read any of his books before. And I have to say that I found this book to be kind of a meh. I don't know what I was expecting. I knew I wasn't expecting the Snagglepuss character. And even if I was, I mean, I kind of knew because of the Flintstones that it would be a unique take on it. And I was, if you look at this cover, you have Snagglepuss sort of posing like the goddess Columbia, if you've ever seen a Columbia Pictures movie. And I guess it also draws to mind the Statue of Liberty, which I think is also Columbia. I think Lady Liberty is also Columbia. So, he's wrapped in the American flag. So I'm expecting some sort of satire. And yeah, it's some sort of satire. It's not particularly good, in my opinion. So we start off here, and let's see, I have to watch the glare. So, you've got this tells you a lot of what you need to know about the movie. Is there are anthropomorphic animals and humans living together in harmony. You can see there's someone here drinking a wine, and I don't know if you can tell in this picture. Oh, that is a human. It's on this end. There's another person. You can see their ears. And so that's another anthropomorphic animal of some kind. Oh, yeah, don't look at that face. My camera zooms in on faces. So let me put my face back there. So yeah. So anyways, you got these two characters. These two middle-aged characters are out for a date. and she talks about, oh, you treat me so well, and they've got tickets, and if you don't know, I'm spoiling it. So this review is all spoilers, so turn it off now if you don't want to know anything about this story. I don't have any choice in the matter because it's just the way it is. At any rate, so you have that. You have the middle-aged couple. The guy is like talking about going to see the show. It's like, hot spaghetti, Alice. Look at the time. We'd better go if we don't want to miss it. And he talks about having the hottest ticket in town, and we got and I bought some mints for later. I would just want everything to be perfect. So, you think might be a second honeymoon or whatnot. And then we meet Snagglepuss. Now, when I saw the picture on Twitter, when I saw the cover, I called him America's greatest actor. And when I bought this comic, I thought I might try to tie it into the Golden Globes, which are on tonight, which I'm not watching because award shows are boring. But you can always get the highlights the next day. But so so then we meet Snagglepuss, and it's like, it's a closing night of his smash hit play on Broadway. They ask him, and he's like doing the guy, the guy. I can't believe I missed all of this stuff that I didn't see before. I'm going to get into that later. So it's like, Mr. Puss, after years on Broadway, tonight marks the final performance of your hit play. How do you feel about that? I think it should go away. A play that overstays its welcome feels like an ant sleeping on your couch. So, he's kind of doing that witty playwriter thing, like Oscar Wilde. That's the guy I was trying to think of. And so, like, he's married. This is his wife, Lila Lyon. And she also stars in his play. And then, he does a little reminiscing. The reason he became a playwright was because of this group called the Algonquin Circle in New York. I don't know very much about him. But anyways, he grew up in rural Mississippi. And so, you see all of these tough blue-collar guys there, and he's reading the New Yorker. And, it's really not funny or moving or anything yet. A young lion makes good in America. And then we see the play, and the play is we just see the end of it, and it's like people dressed as dogs, because the name of the play is right here. It's like, my heart is in a kennel of thieves. So I don't quite know why. A mountain lion is writing a play about dogs. But anyways, there's nothing moving, there's nothing relatable in the play that somebody who has seen a good play could say, oh yeah, I can see they're going for Tennessee Williams or Oscar Wilde or something. It's overly dramatic, but it's not good. I mean, there's nothing we're supposed to believe he is a good playwright, and they don't give us anything to suspend our disbelief to see that he's a good playwright. That's a problem for me. So then, after the play, they split up. I mean, the whole play could have been omitted. It's because it doesn't really do anything. So then he goes to the Stonewall. So you've got Oscar Wilde type guy, and people who are familiar with history know that Stonewall is a famous gay bar in New York, where I think it was 1968, there were some riots after the police busted him. And in this one, you've got a policeman horse. He's like collecting the protection money from the club. The guy says, pour you a drink. And then Pablo is Snagglepuss's lover, and he's a Cuban guy. And then we go to Cuba. First we find out this woman is, what was her name? Hellerman, Lisa Hellman. And, she was a real person. She testified before the House Committee on Un-American Activities. And Snagglepuss doesn't really care, says turn it off. And then like his lover Pablo tells him all about Batista, and you know, there they are, like they're just kind of hanging out in the park, and then the police come and run him off, and then a day later one guy gets killed. So you know, so then he goes, what did you do, Pablo? He goes, I ran. And you know, there's nothing really compelling there. We don't know Pablo. There, you know, we don't really know Snagglepuss. I mean, making Snagglepuss gay is not really it. People, I think, always assumed it anyways. So it doesn't, you know, it's not like going against type. There's nothing kind of special here. Then he meets one of these women, and I would say like one of the good things about this book is there's a couple of lines of fairly good writing. Like Snagglepuss is trying to tell Pablo that you're in America, it's different here. And then Pablo says, every nation is a monster in the making, and monsters will come for you, whether you believe in them or not. So I thought that was a really good line. And, you know, I think any government is a monster in waiting. You give it too much power, you want it to take care of you, it'll take care of you. And then for whatever reason, we jump cut, and he's like meeting this woman named Dorothy, who was part of the Algonquin Circle. She was a writer. And, you know, not much interesting happens here, except that she does have a pretty good line too, which is, so we got a couple of good lines here. And he's talking to her, he's talking about the Algonquin Circle, which is, you know, shown right here. I think they show that picture twice, that frame twice. I think they show it here where we were, just before they went into that awful play that we're supposed to believe is, I guess it's not quite the same, but yeah, it's like, you know, you see a similar thing. So yeah, and then like, here's another good line. So a couple of good lines in here, but it doesn't make the story. I mean, I suppose if I'm willing to, I bought the book, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for an anthropomorphic mountain lion based off a cheesy Hanna-Barbera cartoon that I don't care if they portray him as a homosexual, because everybody made that assumption about him anyways, when I was a kid at least. Anyways, so he goes, I used to admire you all so much. You were like gods to me. And she answers, you were just a lonely child from nowhere, enamored with the drunken wits of the big city. And what is God but the furthest thing from your life you can imagine? So I thought that was really good. That does kind of reveal his character, but yeah. And so then, like, you know, they're talking about HUAC again, and she says, you know, he goes, whatever happened to Dorothy Parker? Kid, when a writer is no longer catch of the day, she's cat food. Watch, it'll happen to you someday too. And, you know, he's a cat. Is it supposed to, is it a pun? Why is it there? I mean, why not fish food? I mean, isn't it offensive to him because he's a cat? I know it's supposed to be wit, but it's not witty. I don't know what they're going for with this book. And then here, like, one of the weird things, and I didn't notice this until we get to the end. Okay, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save for the most weird thing. And then we've got these guys here. The play's over, and I don't know what's going on, because it seems like maybe time jumped and I didn't notice it. Anyways, the play is over, and you assume in the first one, at least I did, that they're going to this, and then they see like Julius and Ethel Rosenberg are being executed, and it's like, look at how clear that picture is. And then, like, execution of two people is a grave matter, but graver still is the millions who may die because of what they have done. Grave, get it? So I think like fish or cat food coming here, grave, like these bad. Maybe the writer just likes those puns. maybe it's just this person. Some people like to do puns. Okay, and so then we get a special guest star, Huckleberry Hound. To me, he doesn't really look anything like Huckleberry Hound, but Pablo is there helping him move some stuff around, and Pablo seems jealous of Huckleberry Hound. Huckleberry Hound, it turns out, is a writer, and then they go to the Guggenheim Museum party, and this is where I first caught it. It's like none of the male characters who are anthropomorphic animals wear pants. Now, when I got to this part, I go, what the heck? And then I like went back and I noticed like most of the time you don't see like Snagglepuss from, mostly they show him from the waist up. Now, the first thing I noticed when I went back through the book again is when he walks into Stonewall, he's wearing a trench coat, and it looks so yeah, there's the trench coat. There he is coming in. It's hard to see at this angle, but right there. And then like I just noticed when I was looking at the book for the camera, and you have this anthropomorphic cameraman, and he's just, yeah, I mean, that's just weird. And if there was a reason for it, they don't like, let's go back to the Guggenheim. And so you see the female anthropomorphic animal is wearing a dress and, covering herself. And those guys, and then like here you've got it again, and it's weird and it's creepy. I don't, and if they had established some rules for these creatures, I mean, like I say, I bought the book, I'm wanting to suspend my disbelief, but then it's just creepy, and like, the way they stand too, kind of like, I mean, I guess it's kind of like an animal would stand with having feet like that, but it doesn't look right. It makes it look even creepier. So I don't know. I don't know what this is all about. And then he runs into, this part really bugged me here. He runs into Lillian Heller, who we saw being judged by the HUAC earlier, and she has like one of the worst lines in here. And she goes, were they terribly rough on you, dear? And she goes, no, they were just shabby little men in a shabby little room. Did you give them the answers they wanted? There's nothing about you those people don't already know. They don't care about answers. They just want to make you shabby too. So, here she is. She admits to being a former communist. She left the party in 1940, but she's going to, and I agree that Congress is a bunch of shabby little men, but communism is shabby too. It's everything about it is shabby. So it's like, to me, if there's supposed to be some poignant point being made there, it falls flat because, there aren't any good guys. It's just a conspiracy of shabby people doing shabby things. And they never really say, I guess I could look up her history, whether she's, how you say she was like, she had seen like the errors of communism and, but she didn't really like, I mean, I can see that. You can make a mistake in life. You can have a pivot and, but then you can be treated for the mistake you made that you've repented from. And yeah, so I can see being embittered by, quote, both sides. So anyways, then we have this character. She looks kind of like an older Ayn Rand to me, but I don't think she's supposed to be Ayn Rand. Her name is Gigi Ellen, which I don't know if that's a play on the punk rock guy. Maybe they thought this was funny. It's like someone whose very name is synonymous with virtue and good taste. And Gigi Ellen, and anybody who knows about Gigi Ellen, I think it was his initials. I think it was Gigi. He was kind of like a punk rocker, and he had like all kinds of gross things going on at his concert, and he died at 40 from probably some horrible disease. Anyway, so then we come back to Ma and Pa Kettle, and we find out that their tickets are for the Rosenberg execution. And so they miss Julius's execution, but they're going to get to see Ethel's. And after I read this book, I think I listened to Ethan Van Sciver's video this morning where he was talking about some books he got, and he talked about how she's being put in the electric chair with hair. And anybody who's ever seen a movie where people are executed by the electric chair, they shave your head first. So it's and she's wearing a dress too. It's kind of silly. It's like, it looks like Julius here is wearing a proper prison attire, but she's wearing a green dress. I guess it is prison. It must be a prison dress. So it just didn't look. It looked like a waitress dress to me at first. But anyways, they both have their hair, and they. If you're getting the electric chair, you get your head shaved, because it has to do with your hair is an insulator of electricity. Now you can have enough current and it will override it, but it's just not efficient, and I think it causes bad results from the chair. So then we find out why he wanted mints. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know what this book is trying to say to me, and I kind of thought it was meh. And so they set it up for the next thing is G.G. Allen is going, the HUAC is having problems with, because all of the, none of the people they accuse are giving them any names or something. So she goes, don't worry, we'll get people talking. We just need someone big to fall, someone who will shake the looser apples from the tree. In fact, I've already got someone in mind, and it's Snagglepuss. And, she's got a picture of him going into the stone wall. So that's pretty much it. Will it get better? It could get better, but other than things like bad puns and stuff like that, if the story was good or engaging, I could forgive it. I could move past it. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Is it just the liberal tick sheet of all the crimes of the United States, And, I've seen that before too. Woody Allen did a very funny movie called The Front. And in the thing I wrote here to be my script that I didn't really follow too much, I wonder why, as I did in the video, I wonder why Snagglepuss is writing a play about dogs. And, one of my thinking is he's going to turn out to be a front. A front was somebody who they're accused of being a communist, so they're on the blacklist. So a front would be somebody who would put their name on it and then, turn it in as their work, and then they would pay, the actual writer, they would split it in some way. And there's a movie with Woody Allen from the 70s called The Front, and it's about that. And then in the 80s, I think it was, there was a made-for-HBO movie with De Niro, and it was about HUAC too, and it's all about Hollywood wanting to see itself as a victim, and in a sense, it was a terrible thing if it was a witch hunt. The thing is, the story's been told a lot, and it's been told better. Stonewall stories have been told a lot, and they've been told better, and so this is. Like I say, I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting more scheming from Snagglepuss, and of course, if he does end up being a front, yeah. So let's see. I did break this down in the good, the bad, the ugly. Okay, there are one or two good lines during the course of the story. I enjoyed the artwork pretty good, except for the weird way they were pantsless. I don't get it. And the feet were weird. And I think the cover is really good. If anything convinced me to buy the book, it was the cover. Now, the bad, who's the audience for it? It's not good enough for people who just want a good story. I don't think Snagglepuss fans are going to like it. I don't think people who are history buffs are going to like it. I don't think it's bad enough or radical enough for, the SJW crowd. Nothing really happens in the first issue. Nothing that's compelling happens that makes you want to come back. I think there should be some explanation of the world. I mean, I could be fine with the males not wearing pants if there's a reason for it, but it does look weird. It looks disturbing. And, the ugly, I think the feet were, you know, especially when Snagglepuss is standing there at the end, it just looks weird and gross. I can see why they, you know, had it mostly in from the waist up. I don't know why you would do that. Just give him more cartoon feet. It's a cartoon. You can have his face looking realistic, but you know, you don't you don't have to draw the feet so awkwardly just because that's the way animals are or would be. It doesn't make sense because, you know, if they're bipedal, walking around, he must have a really sore back. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I can see. And of course, he's not wearing shoes either. Like, you know, his wife was wearing shoes. So, okay, you know, and I write, I wish it were good, or I wish it was 20 years ago that this was written so I could excuse it as the conventions of the day, or, you know, or if it can't be good, I wish it was, it's not all that bad. It's just meh. It's just meh. And is this what the Flintstones is like? I don't know if I'm going to like the Flintstones now. I was going to buy that when it came out in the collected edition. I don't know if I'm going to do that now. I will need, you know, maybe if Comixology gives away the first issue for free at some point, and I'll check it out there, and I'll see. I mean, I've heard people raving about it, about how good it is. And this guy, what was his name? Let's see, Mark Russell. He wrote the Flintstones. So if the Flintstones are anything like this, I think you know, it's, you know, sometimes you get a shot at something and it works, and then nothing else and it works. Yeah, I don't know. It makes me feel sad. It makes me feel sad. I don't, it's like one of those perpetual mysteries, but I'm going to let it go. So I'd like to thank you for watching. If you got this book and you liked it, let me know. If you're familiar with Mark Russell's work and I'm just, you know, just his humor isn't for me, that's fine too. If you enjoyed this video, even though it's for a meh comic, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, share it with your friends. Tell me, especially if you were looking forward to this and then you're like me and maybe you thought it was even bad. I'm not an artist expert, like, you know, I'll watch some people critique comics and talking about what's wrong with the artwork. I don't pick up on all that stuff. To me, it was fine. It was weird when Snagglepuss kisses his lover. It just looks weird because he's got a cat face. But it didn't look as weird as them standing around without pants and their deformed feet. Why do the women wear shoes, or the women anthropomorphic animals wear shoes, but not the men? I don't get it. It's too weird. Do not recommend. We'll find something else. We'll find something else soon. We'll find some alternate comics and we'll see how that goes. So again, thank you. Hit like. And we'll see you soon with another episode of Super Comic Fun Time.